Uh,
And that was first realized back in the days of the Renaissance.
yeah.
And you talked about Galileo. He was one of the first people who suggested that we could test our ideas by carrying out experiments and observing whether the results matched with the idea that we were promoting. Uh,
That's a lot like the idea, and I talk about this with my students all the time, the difference between discovery and uncovery.
yes,
Where, when we say, oh, someone discovered natural selection, or someone, you know, really what they've done is they've uncovered it,
yes,
because it's always existed. It's just
yes,
now we've come to the point in our own maturation, intellectual maturation,
yes,
where we can explain the natural world. And so that's a really important distinction, because often is the case, unless we are creating something through the methods of science to put things together that nature would not itself put together. You can think about chemistry, medicine, stuff
mm,
like that. That would be a discovery. But really, often is the case, we confuse these two words.
yes, we do.
And reality is, many of the things that we have that we've discovered are really not discoveries, but uncoveries.
Yes, yes, indeed. But the only thing that we can do with our brains is make models
Right.
and then test them to see whether they fit with how the universe works.
Hmm.
And if they fit reasonably well, we can travel with those models for a while. We did this, of course, with Newton's laws of motion. But then when we discover that there's some areas where they don't fit, some exceptions, like the orbit of Mercury around the sun, then we've got to revise our model.
Hmm.
And we did this. Einstein came up with relativity, which explains the orbit of Mercury much better than Newton's laws do. So Newton wasn't wrong, he was just less accurate. And we don't really know yet whether Einstein is perfectly accurate. We might discover some flaws in the way his model
Right.
doesn't fit in the future. So there needs to be this understanding of the distinction between thought, which makes models, and the external realm, where that's the thing we're trying to understand.
Right.
That's the authority here,
It,
and
right.
we're just trying to replicate it in our puny brains.